This is 1,000 players split across 4 different islands, and all of them forced to survive together. Let me explain. Here, each island will be inhabited by one of 4 races. Each race will have their own unique powers and abilities, but if you die here, you are dead forever. With basically 0 rules and literally infinite possibilities, these players have created one of the most incredible stories I've witnessed yet. So sit back, relax, and yes, you read the title right. This is the Great Races Experiment. If you want to participate in these videos, join my Discord in the link below. Also, thank you so much to Ish and Magicgum. I stole their idea. Oh, here they come. Players started their journey by, of course, spawning into the world.
There we go, I'm on fire.
Immediately, a player from the air race tried to escape their island and subsequently learned about the origin storm.
Goodbye, guys. I'm off to explore the world. Oh no. Ow. Ow.
Unfortunately, splitting the 4 islands was a vast ocean containing a raging storm that quickly killed any player within it. Because of this, the 4 races would be unable to interact with each other until it dissipated on the 4th day, which might have led to some intolerance. Anyways, it was the beginning of day 1 and players were exploring and gathering resources as quickly as possible. Hey, how's it going?
Good. Just planting some trees for some wood.
As you could tell, most races were doing fine, with the exception of the ice race. Hey, what you guys up to over here?
There's nothing on this island.
They were having a much harder time doing this as they discovered that there were absolutely 0 trees on their island. Instead, located within the giant ice shards were frozen logs that just so happened to be perfectly preserved. While the ice island was by far the most inhospitable, the residents there made up for it with their increased vitality and a very healthy appetite for raw fish.
Does anyone want drugs, by the way?
So much of an appetite, I think it was beginning to get weird.
Hell yeah, drunk. Help.
Have fun.
Though their beginnings were quite bleak, the ice race was gonna be just fine. What wasn't fine though was how the Earth race had turned something as simple as mining for ores into an extreme death sport. Now, having quite possibly one of the most unique islands, the Earth race spawned in an almost bedrock level surrounded by giant pillars rich in ores that rose hundreds of blocks into the sky. Because of this, you would think that the players on the Earth island would be constructing safe bridges and passageways for their fellow miners, but instead, 1-block pathways were all that could be seen.
We're all going to die.
To understand this more, I had a quick chat with a group that called themselves Earth OSHA, and here's what they had to Huh, they're all dead. Well, setting aside their blatant disregard for safety, when combining their powers of mining faster and better, together with their natural landscape, they very quickly made armor to protect themselves and their peers. Due to this rapid progression, many of the residents stopped mining altogether and started pursuing some more not mining things. Is that a crafting table made of crafting tables? Yeah, moving on. As we find ourselves on the Fire Island, all seemed peaceful and serene at first glance, but behind that facade, there was a lot of tension. You see, the fire race in of itself was somewhat unique. Unlike the other single life races, the fire people had 2 lives.
Imagine having only 1 life.
On death, instead of dying for good, they come back reborn stronger than before. And normally this would be a good thing, but when coupled with the fact that there were nearly no harsh conditions on their island, their value of a life dropped dramatically. Dude, I'm leaving this island. That's like the 5th fight I've seen today. Whoa. Small fights were breaking out all over the island, and the fire race very quickly devolved into multiple splintered factions. Some factions, like this religious group led by David Dustin, quickly gathered followers to, let's say, help others reincarnate.
Let's go to the church.
The plan is simple. We baptize everyone in fire, and if anybody refuses, they're gonna get baptized by force.
While the church was making their religious plans, there were others that were fighting for their lives. Even the factions that simply wanted to peacefully coexist with others were forced to be aggressive in order to defend their territory.
Right now, the Fire Island is in absolute chaos. We were going to be peaceful, but I guess things just turned out differently.
The brief peace on the Fire Island was gone in minutes within day one and replaced with a grand struggle for power.
You guys all agree?
What's up, man?
Among the disarray came multiple arsonists, mass murderers, and some just straight psychopaths.
Why is this a thing?
We now live in composters. Welcome to the enlightened church of the composter.
Home compost bin.
What is this?
What did I just walk into?
Getting lit, bro.
Honestly, it was a miracle they didn't burn the whole island down on the first day. But they sure are trying. Alright, last but not least, the air people. These guys not only spawned in with elytras on their backs, but they also received extra movement speed and armor. Their home was comprised of numerous floating islands high above ocean level, serving as a sort of natural defense from any outsiders. On the island themselves, life was ideal. Farmers on the island swiftly grew large amounts of wheat, even using slash and burn techniques because they were running out of land so fast. Alongside that, diplomacies and plans were also made public to all air residents to avoid any unnecessary fights and promote cooperation. With their food and troubles basically gone, they focused their attention to the most important factor: the air crystal. Located at the center of their island was a giant crystal structure responsible for all the magic within the air race, and that included their powers. If, by any chance, the crystal would break, who knows what disasters would befall the air people. Now, with introductions over and each race hard at work, mostly hard at work, we move on. The Fire Island was struck by yet another case of arson and attempted murder. Not knowing who had done it, the groups were busy blaming each other and fights were already breaking out. As the fights continued, during one of these skirmishes though, the combatants stumbled upon, surprisingly, a thriving community. Being welcomed into this large and growing town, the residents here were actually peaceful and in fact were being led by a joint collaboration between Procrastination and David Dustin. Going back to how this happened, during all the chaos earlier, the Church of Fire and the Fire Kingdom had actually met together to discuss the longevity of the Fire Island. Both leaders knew that the path the island was going down would inevitably lead to destruction, and as such, formed a peace deal with each other.
Fire Kingdom and the Church of Fire will hereby work together to ensure the preservation of the Fire
As
Island.
their first declaration, Procrastination ordered everyone to be baptized by the Church of Fire, a ritual that required people to be dunked in lava. You're gonna dunk them in lava.
Yep, we're just gonna dunk them in lava.
Alright. Right on cue, it was revealed that the church had been gathering large quantities of lava in preparation for the baptism. The baptism that was going to cost them their first lives, but oh well. It'll be an interesting event, probably much like the current event on the Air Islands. Leaving the Fire Island and their glorious theocracy behind, the Air Race was having their own Air Olympics to celebrate their progress. To continue, multiple islands now were also sprawling with wheat farms, buildings, and the very glamorous crystal at the center of it all. Oh my god, look at all that wheat. They've like covered everywhere. While containing multiple groups and governments, the Air Race had also come together under one banner they called Sky Haven. The elected leader of these factions was a player named K4Lit, someone who strived to ensure the continued peace of the Air Islands. Alongside him was the Council, which was made up of representatives from each of their groups within Sky Haven.
Democracy.
Moving away from their government and celebrations, in the back alley slums of the Air Capital, it seemed another new religion was starting to take root. Sheep god, property of air.
I gave the sheep god dude a bell.
Wait, property of air?
Let him spread his teachings. Honestly.
something's not right. And something wasn't right. Moments later, apparently their landlord showed up and, feeling hungry for some mutton chops, stated that the first one to kill the sheep wouldn't have to pay rent that month. No, wait. One of the followers is going in. Wait. Oh no, he's actually killing the sheep. Unfortunately, it seems that even faith was no match for the relentless march of capitalism. Now, on the Ice Island, between the multiple towns that have been starting to grow, two of the largest and most distinct were Meridian and the Ice Kingdom. Because of the harsh conditions, residents were quick to group together, as finding yourself alone here was a sure shot to starvation, or even worse, being brutally murdered by lawless barbarians that roamed the land.
The barbarians outside are really starting to become a problem.
Continuing to take a quick look around, you would notice that across the entire island and many towns, the ice race all had one thing in common, and that was their fishing districts. This was because to the ice race, fish was everything. On this frozen wasteland of an island, there was no other life, and as such they had adapted to eating raw fish. So much raw fish that they now gained extra nutritional benefits from the fish too.
You get a fish. You get a fish. Not you. I don't like you.
Also, I think they might just be going a little bit crazy, but through sheer hard work and commitment, towns and groups all over the island were eventually able to settle down with some good cod and great company.
Ladies and gentlemen, tonight we feast.
With that, a chaotic day ended with a peaceful night. That was a nice day. Alright, let's head to the Earth race. I haven't seen them in a while. Aside from the gaping hole into the void, which I do not have an explanation for, the Earth race has remained relatively tame throughout the entire event. One thing that stood out though was their just huge amounts of gold, iron, and diamonds, but with such a large quantity of these resources, they quickly lost their value internally. The same thing could not be said internationally. Rising up over 300 blocks into the sky, the air race needed resources. They had started their large-scale project building defenses to protect their crystal, and after splitting up into multiple groups, their elected leader K4Lit oversaw the construction, or more, deconstruction, of the entire center island.
We are completely digging out the entire right now.
Then, far down below the crystal at sea level, players were converting the mined out island into a giant platform with the idea of forcing any would-be invaders into an extremely difficult position where to reach the air crystal, they would have to risk falling to their deaths. Overall, it was a smart idea, but some factions within Skyhaven still opposed the project, stating that it degraded the serenity of the islands in opposition for blatant militarism. However, from K4Lit's view, he was simply protecting the citizens of the land. With these seeds of dissent already being sown, just how will this resolve? On another note, it's now well into day 3 and things have finally started to get exciting in regards to the Origin Storm. Ever since the first day, this storm has been raging and preventing anyone from crossing over to another race's land. But that was all about to change. Rumors were spreading that there were early signs of the storm starting to dissipate, and once completely gone, there would be no more supernatural force keeping the islands isolated. Hearing the news, players on all 4 islands started preparations for this world-changing event. The Ice Island continued to build up their walls and fortifications. The Air Islands voted to speed up production of their project. The Earth Island continued doing whatever they were doing. And the now peaceful Fire Island prepared to greet their newfound neighbors.
Tomorrow will be a day of peace.
While unable to physically travel to the other islands, through social networking, leaders of large groups were able to gain a sense of how things were on the other sides of the world. Seeing how everyone was mostly at peace with each other, they wanted to set up a meeting for a peace deal. Leading this peace deal was of course Procrastination from the Fire Kingdom, and joining him would be leaders from the Ice Kingdom, Meridian, Skyhaven, and some self-proclaimed Diamond Princes from the Earth Island.
I don't know what's going on.
Unfortunately, while being Procrastination's right-hand man and leader of the Church of Fire, David Dustin stated that he wouldn't be able to make it due to a religious pilgrimage he had planned. Regardless though, plans were made, messages sent out, quickly accepted, and finally,
If leaders are able to meet, this could easily become the largest alliance in the world.
With virtually no other contenders.
we're under attack! Defend the walls! Wait, run. I was gone for like 15 minutes. What happened here? Looks like the Ice Empire was just eradicated. In a matter of minutes, the Ice Kingdom had fallen to blood-hungry barbarians with refugees scattered all about. It was unprecedented. Meridian, the nearest faction, unable to differentiate between barbarian and refugee, could only let in so many within their walls. Looking elsewhere, the Fire and Earth Island climates were too humid for someone of the Ice race to survive effectively. The last choice was the sky-high air islands. Caperlet demanded for the refugees to be accepted as soon as the storm dissipated, but the council voted otherwise, deciding that the outside races were far too chaotic for their standards, announced that their borders would be completely closed off for anyone that wasn't the air race. The Ice Kingdom was overrun, Skyhaven forcefully isolated themselves, and Meridian was too busy dealing with the crisis. Finally, the world peace deal was a failure, ending before it had even begun. Only one thing now remained in the head of a mysterious figure, and that was...
The air crystal will fall tomorrow.
About our position globally. Okay, everyone will hate us.
The Origin Storm had dissipated, a historic event, but on the air islands, another more pressing matter was being discussed. Astonishingly, to the Council, the barbarians' actions ended up defining the rest of the world for them, labeling even the victims as barbaric for letting the attack happen in the first place. On the other hand, K4Lit argued that this was completely unreasonable and pressed for the borders to be reopened. As the debates continued on, it began to draw attention away from the completion of the air crystal defenses, and at that same time, a very precarious package appeared at the border of the air islands. Even though the peace deal had gone under and David Dustin was still strangely on his religious pilgrimage, the Fire Kingdom still wanted to help the other nations, and with the storm gone, Procrastination planned to send out envoys carrying various foods and supplies. Among these supplies was one most notable, the enchantment tables. Currently, only the fire race had access to enchantments due to the naturally spawning sugarcane located on their island. By distributing these packages, he wanted to reinvigorate plans for global unity, even at the cost of sacrificing his own military power and advantages. The packages themselves were delivered by Procrastination's elite squadron to make sure they reached their intended destinations, and overall, this was great for the rest of the world, especially for Meridian as they were still rescuing refugees after the collapse of the Ice Kingdom.
Okay, everyone, please form a single file line.
Even on the Earth Island, it helped players build, mine, and just live safer. Damn, these guys are high up. But in the case of the air race, apparently the council had decided to decline Procrastination's gift, meaning that he never sent it. Regarding the strange package, instead, K4Lit had earlier asked someone not part of the Fire Kingdom, a player named God Awful, to help secretly bring enchantments to the Air Islands. This was all part of an overall plan to appear independent from the rest of the races, and thus, God Awful was the only outsider permitted to enter their borders. I just got word that there's something about to happen at the Air Islands. We're at their church right now.
Do you, Otis, take this woman to be your wife?
I do.
We should put fence gates here.
Get some more cobblestone, honestly.
doing this.
You guys haven't paid your taxes recently.
I love to see it.
Where's the taxes?
Where do you think they can't answer?
For you, I say, once again, we must reopen the border.
Something was wrong. While God-Awful had brought with him the enchantment table, it seemed that he had also unknowingly brought in a few much more unwelcome visitors. They claimed to be his friends, but when questioning God-Awful, he said that he had made the trip alone. I thought the air race was on lockdown. Why are there different races here? Looking into it further, this group was made up of players from the Fire, Ice, and even Earth Islands. Just what was their motive? What?
We will show the world what it means to fear.
At the scene of the crime, the air race gathered around the air crystal. Just below them were the attackers, or rather, the barbarians. Because of the border debates, the air defenses remained unfinished, citizens were ill-prepared, and leadership split. Taking charge, Cape Verlet ordered all available fighting force to the air crystal, the source of all their powers. It was imperative for them that it wasn't destroyed. There's not a lot of them, but dude, if a few get through, it's bad news for them. They can't get up. Through sheer numbers, the barbarians were pushed back, unable to scale up the floating islands. It seemed that the air crystal would be safe, with dozens of guards ranging into the hundreds defending it. They're winning. Skyhaven's winning. Wait, someone just messaged me that these guys are just the scouts. Coming in from the south was the main force. Climbing up the unguarded islands on the outskirts was another wave of barbarians, but this time, strangely decked out in premium armor. Barreling through island to island, plundering and razing to the ground everything in their path, the air race was caught off guard yet again. With very limited time to spare, the situation was dire. Knowing so, the council put aside their differences and granted Cape Verlet complete military control over Skyhaven. He immediately called in support from all nations. Despite Skyhaven's isolationist ideals, Cape Verlet still remained in good standing with the other leaders, officially making this the first international war. Oh, here come the reinforcements.
Even the world that burns behind.
This person on the island.
Even the world that burns behind, baby.
Acknowledging the desperation, both Meridian and the Fire Kingdom decided to send in troops to support Skyhaven. It was total carnage as the two opposing forces clashed, with air citizen bystanders watching, unable to fully comprehend the chaos that was unfolding on their once peaceful land.
I'm just gonna point out, look how many players are left on the air race. We literally don't even have the sport. We have the 12 gamer.
What? This attack had catastrophic repercussions for the entirety of the air race. Their crystal was shattered, they lost all powers of flight, and their islands were laid barren from fire. In the aftermath, many players theorized that if only Skyhaven's international relationships had been just a bit better, if only their defenses had been finished, if only their leadership hadn't been so split, then likely they would have survived the assault. This day, Skyhaven deaths alone were calculated to reach into the hundreds, making it by far the deadliest war that has happened, completely dwarfing the fall of the Ice Kingdom from the previous day. Now powerless, Cape Verlet and the other Skyhaven survivors became refugees themselves, packing up their belongings and leaving their now tarnished homes. Effects weren't only felt by Skyhaven though. Both Meridian and the Fire Kingdom lost soldiers during the conflict.
to remember our brave spirits who have perished in battle today. They were loyal members of Meridian who have gone back to the seas to be one with the fish gods.
Around the world, it was a solemn day, with now many questions being raised about the attack. Why did it happen? What were their goals? And who exactly was the mastermind behind all this? When eventually revealed, these answers would shock the world. In the wake of the tragedy, the world was changing fast. After witnessing such large-scale destruction, many of the smaller nations that lacked military power were in fear. Surprisingly, this fear in the wake of devastating chaos seemed to lead to newfound peace. More than ever, the presence of barbarians encouraged nations to meet with each other and create new partnerships. And regarding the air citizens, after leaving their islands, the majority were accepted by Meridian and the rest traveled to the Fire Kingdom. After having finally rescued the stranded Ice Kingdom refugees and now the players from Sky Haven, Meridian was widely becoming known as a nation that welcomed everyone. With this in mind, they decided to start construction on a new meeting center meant for partnerships and peace talks, even going the extra step to raise the flooring to make sure there were no traps to be set. The person behind all this was a player named Abraxon, who had managed to grow his nation from a small town to now a powerhouse that rivaled the best militaries in the world.
Yep, that's him. That's him.
He's him. Much like procrastination, he wanted peace, doing his best to make Meridian as hospitable as possible to everyone. Skyhaven's battle yesterday was not lost on him though. There needed to be answers for what had happened, so he met with trusted members of Meridian and also Kiefer Lit to discuss their next steps.
Right now I'm going to Meridian with my peeps. If you don't want to come with me, that's completely fine. You can stay on the islands.
Speaking of steps, moving over to the Earth Islands, they were making steps towards protecting themselves. For the first time yet, it seems that the Earth race actually valued their own lives. There, we saw Procrastination meeting with them in person, offering them protection in exchange for diamonds and other resources. This deal was a no-brainer for the Earth factions, where, while they were disadvantaged in combat, they excelled in mining. That's just egregious. Afterwards, Procrastination was making trips around the world, visiting the mostly abandoned air islands and eventually made his way to Meridian.
You visiting for what purpose exactly?
Question. Like, I visited Ba Sing Se, and then I visited... You guys are last. And then, Pillar Man, now you guys. And I got a little something every nation.
Oh, that's nice.
Procrastination, as the Emperor of the Fire Kingdom, respected Abraxon and knowing their end goals for world peace aligned well together, of course wanted to ally together. What was most impressive about Meridian though was its ability to bring people together from all sorts of backgrounds and races to coexist peacefully. By simply just growing, the sovereign state stood as a testament to the idea of seclusion, something very familiar to the now disbanded Sky Haven. Tending to the aftermath of the war, a few former members of Sky Haven stayed behind. Here they lived peacefully on the island by themselves, slowly rebuilding from the rubble. Paying respects to their former glory, they built shrines and monasteries.
This place probably looks better after the invasion, if I'm being honest.
This peace and serenity was quite a change for the Air Islands after the monumental 2 days. And finally, with that, we get to end the day off on a good note. We are now approaching almost a week into the experiment, and I'll be honest, I haven't been very clear on what's been happening on the Earth Island. While we've watched the entire world grow and go through massive changes, much like a rock, the Earth race stayed still. The groups within this island operated more like companies, really just remaining neutral throughout conflicts and simply looking to profit wherever they were able to. Richer groups like the Pillarmen and Ba Sing Se dominated the space, and now being under the protection of the Fire Kingdom, could be at ease under this mysterious barbarian threat. Unfortunately though, smaller groups and even individual players weren't so lucky. The many that had stopped being so materialistic faced, for the first time, The effects of being poor.
We're poor.
Strangely, as their civilization developed, of course their standards of living also went up, but an unintended consequence came where some players ended up more developed, while others fell behind. This was slowly becoming a growing issue, but some simply did not care, like the Void Cult that worshipped a hole into the void. Oh, in we go.
Did you die?
Or players like Jack of All Jokes who continued building his giant block property, regardless of any outside politics. How'd this all start? Why do you have so many crafting tables?
Yeah, it all started because someone said 2 out of 10, not enough crafting tables. He just kind of walked over and said, "Is this Bong Sing Se?" I was like, "No, wrong place, buddy."
For many on this island, they had never even left it, much less seen what the rest of the world was like. They got most of their information from a newspaper called Your Daily Cup of News, which was ran by a small group of dedicated journalists focused on global events. Speaking of these journalists, they recently discovered, of all people, where David Dustin was. Oh, there he is. We found David Dustin. He's been in this volcano the whole time. Apparently, David Dustin and a few select followers had quietly made their way to the Ice Island volcano. This was so secretive that even Procrastination didn't know that they were here. In the frozen over volcano, they could be seen mining out the obsidian and seemingly preparing for something. Are they setting up some kind of outpost? That's wild. The ice factions don't even know they're here either. Why am I whispering? No one can hear me. When Jaramonkey from Your Daily Cup of News approached them, he was ushered away and told that the Fire Church was here on an important mission. What was even more suspicious though was their complete uninvolvement in the Skyhaven raid, and how he had left the Fire Island the same day. On top of it all though was the fact that the Church of Fire itself was quite rich, and also had access to enchantments, something peculiar when thinking back on the quite over-geared, over-aggressive, and over-organized barbarians. Now I have to go in and ask, yo, what y'all up to? Anything suspicious?
All we care about is just enlightening others, restoring and taking care of our sanctuary. The volcano, that is, of course.
Damn, so the Skyhaven raid wasn't you guys?
No, that's really none of our business. Our main goal is just to make this sanctuary a safe haven for pilgrims from all islands and all factions. We actually never had any evil intentions.
Well, apparently the Church of Fire was simply here to perform their religious activities in the giant basin of the volcano. They believed that ascending here would be a holier experience than back home on the Fire Island. When finishing their religious outpost, David Dustin planned to bring the rest of the church followers here. Somehow, this frozen wasteland of an island continued to attract more and more players, becoming more vibrant by the day. The Church of Fire wasn't the only attraction on the Ice Island though. Heading into Meridian, a Skyhaven refugee, Watrock, had opened up a travel agency. For the low cost of a few diamonds, he offered a multitude of options, ranging from Dublin to even the back rooms. I personally paid for a trip to Hawaii, and off we went. Yeah, here we go. Going. We're still going. No way.
Lost? What kind of travel agency is this?
He eventually dropped me off in the middle of nowhere and labeled it Hawaii. Aside from the trip, I also visited a new, or actually old nation. The Ice Kingdom was rebuilding. After spending a few days in the care of Meridian, the refugees decided to venture forth and start anew. At the top of the volcano stood the new Ice Kingdom, and this time, sporting a Christmas tree. Oh my god. See, because of my poor planning, we were closing in on the holidays, and for some festive cheer, I decided to give players a present for fun. Oh, I hope this works. On the Ice Island, most gathered around for festivities all around. Even the ever-secretive Church of Fire came out of their shell to participate. To continue, beneath the ground was a note block contraption that even played Christmas-themed music. One lone player wasn't enjoying it as much though, coming out of his home complaining that it was too loud. So this player, Turtle CG, took it upon himself to steal presents from underneath the tree and attempt to dampen the mood. But when that didn't work, he resorted to a much darker approach and started secretly attacking pet dogs, which promptly got him chased out of the kingdom.
I caught him. Turtles going in a bunch of houses and just killing dogs.
Aside from smaller issues like that, life on the Ice Island became much more peaceful. And for the Ice Kingdom, they would never forget Meridian's hospitality and of course promised to remain their ally if the need ever came. Ever since the attack on Skyhaven, the world was becoming increasingly connected, which could not have been the intended goal. Or could it? Delving back into the depths of the mysterious location, we find ourselves surrounded by fire, stone, and the barbarians. They were gathering for a meetup with what could only be assumed to be their leader, and as the person approached the stage, everyone went silent.
I would like to thank you all for coming today. The fate of Skyhaven was something necessary for the progression of the world. To reward you all, I would like to present you with the rise of new global order.
Hey, that was not the deal. Where are our diamonds?
Yeah, we don't really care. We just really want the diamonds.
As expected. Very well. I had hoped for some change for the better, but I see now that this regime simply cannot be built upon this disorder. Guards, execute them.
Well, in a massive twist, it seems procrastination's peace wasn't as peaceful as many others had thought. Though currently his true identity remained a secret to the world was now benefiting from the rising era of order that he himself had created. But this so-called peace and order may have been too much for some. Over in Ba Sing Se, poor players had enough of their mistreatment. They had been forced to work all day and night to pay for their rich players' protections, while they themselves not seeing much of the benefit. As a result, the many were now rebelling against the few. Successfully, the workers managed to kick out their oppressors and take over for themselves. Not knowing what to do, those that were kicked out scrambled towards the Fire Kingdom in seek of help. But they weren't the only ones escaping though. Along with the aristocrats were some Fire Kingdom soldiers that had been caught up in the crossfire. Received by Procrastination's elite squadron, they were safe, but some were quite the opposite. As in, the barbarians. Of the dozens killed, 2 of them managed to escape Procrastination's execution and were now wandering aimlessly. Along with their dead brethren, these 2 survivors had been slaughtering others for food and resources all their lives, which in the eyes of Procrastination was the cause of all his troubles to begin with. Now being hunted by the Fire Kingdom's elite squad, they decided it was best to escape back to their island of origin, where they felt the most at home. On the Ice Island, going around there were multiple churches scattered everywhere. Most within Meridian and the Ice Kingdom followed and prayed to the fish, Cod, their savior in their most desperate time of need.
Cod just saves my life.
But some churches prayed to the blue ice.
This church is blasphemy!
Though because freedom of religion was a concept carried by Abraxan, the leader of Meridian, to the dismay of many followers of Cod, the blue ice churches remained open. On the topic of freedom, along came 2 misfits, both foodless and now starving. After having made it back to the Ice Island, the surviving barbarians quickly remembered why they had left in the first place. And very unfortunately for one of the churches of Cod, they were the first thing that the starving barbarians stumbled upon. Thankfully, before anything bad happened, I'm told a member of the church came out and actually gifted them free fish without knowing who they were. Confused, the two accepted the cod and were asked if they were also followers. I mean, it was free food and free housing. So with that, the Church of Cod gained 2 new quite unconventional followers that day. Nearby, Meridian was dealing with the issues of the barbarians. On the outside, no one knew that behind the scenes, Procrastination had basically taken care of the problem, after using them to his own advantage first, of course. But for the rest of the world, after almost 3 days with 0 answers, Abraxan was finally ready to call in another world meeting. This time with basically everyone having gotten to know each other after the collapse of Skyhaven. It was a much smaller world, and with Meridian famous for their accommodations, basically everyone, including Procrastination, agreed to meet at their town hall. Thanks to your daily cup of news about the meeting spread and hopes were high that the world could actually put up a united stance against the isolated barbarians, much to Procrastination's amusement. But included in the news was also a wholesome feel-good article about 2 former barbarians turned COD followers that were now helping others fight starvation. This one not as amusing to Procrastination. Today's a busy day for quite a few people. Word on the street was that the barbarians were finally about to be dealt with, and this news had everyone excited. Across the sea, notices were sent out to the Earth and Fire Island for a meeting later today, asking to be extra careful as this would be the largest meeting yet on the server. Someone had also come forth with a new lead on where the barbarians could be hiding, and the point of interest? A Church of Cod. The same church that housed the 2 escaped barbarians, Yomu and the Dazzler, which of course was no coincidence. While plans were being made to go check it out, inside the Ice Island volcano, the Church of Fire had been praying and mining. Being the first to be baptized in this brand new molten sanctuary, David Dustin was now finally ready to move his followers to the new church, and after helping unite the Fire Kingdom alongside Procrastination, he felt that it was time for the church to move on to a new chapter in its life, and thus planned to re-establish themselves as an independent organization, something he was going to bring up during the world meeting. Checking back in on Meridian, there were now guards stationed everywhere throughout the nation, and most prominently around the meeting center. With the news spread, they knew that this could easily become a target for attack, and as such, remained vigilant. As leaders of groups and nations of all sizes started to show up, security was now at its peak. One by one, the seats were being filled, and with the last Earth faction, DPR, showing up, thus officially began the talks.
Alright, should we just start talking about some general things for now about what we're discussing?
Sure.
Yeah.
Meanwhile, heading to the team that was checking out the barbarians, the church was just in sight when they discovered something horrible. From what they saw, it was the Fire Kingdom's elite squad coming in and killing everyone. Not only the former barbarians, but anyone that had aided them was slain, all under the reasoning of peace and order. The last 2 barbarians were gone, the world was cleansed, and Procrastination could continue peace talks with his mind at ease. Or so he thought.
No.
Somebody just got killed by one of the previous members.
Oh no, that Ravage was part of our people.
Leaders quickly started questioning what just happened.
Even though you said you weren't there, right?
I wasn't there.
Procrast? I don't think it was on the.
Procrast, what did you do?
Yep. You caught me.
What?
What? What the hell?
What?
Alright.
What?
What isn't happening anymore?
Something had snapped within Procrastination. He gave the people the peace that they wanted so badly, but in doing so, they were angry with him. It was pretty justified, and maybe through further talks, things could have calmed down. But his actions that followed definitely gave reason for anger.
Oh my god.
Procrast is killing her.
Come on, me.
No.
West wall.
I don't know if working something out is even possible at this point.
Procrastination left, leaving behind a trail of destruction. Everything now was laid onto the table with no more secrets. Skyhaven, the barbarians, and plus with all nation leaders present, everyone now knew the truth. Joining Abraxan, K4Lit, after realizing what procrastination did to Skyhaven, was righteously furious.
Yeah, because I'm gonna be honest, I want world peace. I want to live peacefully with peeps and have a happy life, but we're just not going to ignore what they did.
David Dustin was equally confused as he was worried.
Okay, so let me tell you what's happening with the Fire Kingdom. The military group of the Fire Kingdom lost all support from the civilians. He did support the church wholeheartedly. He was the first one to get baptized, so...
Rising from the aftermath, Abraxan took the stage.
Procrastination, and consequently the Fire Kingdom itself, is responsible for the death of hundreds of innocent souls. His ideals are dangerous and contain a blatant disregard for life as we know it. In light of recent events, I, Abraxan, alongside the Meridian Council, solemnly declare war on the Fire Kingdom.
One cod to the fish gods. Glory to fish.
We need 4 diamonds.
Who are we killing? Where are they?
Kicking their asses.
We can conclude there. Let's all spread out too.
Visiting Procrastination, things were different now. Much different. His kingdom, no empire he had formed, was changing. A land of peace, yes still, but now something had trumped that. Order. With what felt like the entire world against him, he still had one last play, calling back in every last favor that the Fire Kingdom had provided throughout the entire event. Procrastination offered them one final gift. It was a message sent to those outlawed, those forgotten, those that had been left behind by civilization. He was giving them a new chance. Traveling around the globe, his elite squad spread the message. Some ignored, but many accepted. Thieves, criminals, murderers. Procrastination didn't care, as they would all be given a new beginning under his rule, as a soldier. And as for the civilians living under the Fire Kingdom, they feared for their lives. Procrastination knew that if they really wanted to leave, he couldn't stop them, and as such, let them flee along with Church of Fire devotees. Because, for some reason, he had a feeling that they'd be coming back. As mobilization efforts continued, resources were needed more than ever, and things weren't quite looking too good for the Fire Kingdom. In light of the recent news, almost all Earth factions broke off their contracts with them, and with the help of Meridian, they were placed under the protection of nearby allies. Currently, the Fire Kingdom was being held up by its emergency reserves and wealthy aristocrats from the Earth Island. With an overall population consisting mostly of soldiers now, food was also at an all-time low, only exacerbated by the amount of new recruits joining their military. Something had to be done soon. Switching sides, Meridian was now growing faster than ever, being supported by not only most of the world's organizations, but even the former Fire Kingdom civilians. Personally visiting the refugees along with David Dustin, they learned of the current state of the Fire Kingdom. This was huge information, and for Meridian and their allies, something they could take advantage of. Whether Abraxan liked it or not, Declaring war on the Fire Kingdom made them the protectors against procrastination. In a sense, Meridian was now the de facto global superpower of the world, which was important as on the long-abandoned air islands, there was trouble brewing. The remaining unprotected residents were being scavenged for any semblance of food they had remaining, and if they refused, to put it simply, they received the Day 1 Fire Island experience. Word of this spread fast and only reinforced the information provided to Meridian that procrastination was beginning his war campaign. Alright, looks like things are finally about to start. Really curious about how this ends, honestly. This was it. If there were ever a time to take seriously, it was now. In Meridian, troops were being bolstered, extra reinforcements called for, and their once bustling streets now fallen into complete silence. From all around the globe, soldiers sent by the allied nations showed up in preparation for Meridian's defense. Guards constantly patrolled the walls, scouts on the lookout for any enemy movement, and residents hiding under cover. The tension was higher than ever. Something was going on. Confusingly, procrastination never attacked. Actually, not only did he not attack, it seemed that he never even really made an attempt. As dawn approached, so did the end of day 9, ending uncomfortably without any bloodshed. Looking around, everyone was uneasy, but as nothing continued to happen, they slowly relaxed. And that's when Abraxan realized.
We've been tricked.
They're all in place.
All right. Let's begin then.
Meridian and allies were horribly mispositioned, and as a result, they paid dearly. Too slow to do anything, news ported as the other nations fell. In summary, Earth factions DPR, Ba Sing Se, and Pillarmen were eradicated, with the few escapees taking advantage of their extremely unsafe bridges to flee. Down below, the Void Cultists, remote hamlets, and even Jack of all jokes couldn't hide from the takeover. As Meridian scrambled to save the Earth refugees, part of the Fire Kingdom's army had made landfall on the Ice Island. Swift raids were launched on the various churches alongside the killings of the news reporters, and most surprisingly, the rebuilt Ice Kingdom. Throughout all the attacks, all were offered salvation if they joined the kingdom, but many refused as they fought till their demise. Meridian and their allies were shocked. They had gathered the world's largest military only to be completely ignored. The number of deaths were staggering, and nations built with hundreds of man-hours now complete ghost towns. This was all getting exhausting. The common consensus within Meridian was that they were all tired. Tired of all the bloodshed, tired of all the fighting, and tired of all the action. The Meridian army was formed to defend against the Fire Kingdom, but now there was nothing left to defend. No homes to go back to, no reason to fight. Abraxan was tired too, and as a result he looked for an alternate way to end this war. Throughout the battles, the Church of Fire remained largely untouched, hopefully meaning that procrastination still held respect for David Dustin, and asking David Dustin to be the middleman. Abraxan had decided. It was time to make a peace deal. After the long days and nights, Procrastination was finally going to achieve his goal of peace. And thus, they arrived.
Do you have anything to say about the crimes against the Air Nation that you can mention it? Maybe you weren't there, but your members that you're currently with were indeed there.
Yeah. Let me think.
Oh. I know. The Air Nation was the only nation to refuse an alliance with us. And then we caught their scouts on the Fire Island spying on us while their military leaders discussed invading Fire. When we massacred them, the air race fled to Meridian, the last bastion of hope. You denied me. You declared war on me. And now what do? You come crawling back to me. Huh. Peace, you say? Never.
Procrastination's message couldn't have been any clearer. Back in Meridian, unbeknownst to them, Fire Kingdom soldiers had been lying in wait, watching. The citizens were currently busy constructing graveyards for their fallen comrades, believing that the war was over, and Abraxan had to warn them. Oh my, Procrastination's attacking them. Abraxan immediately retreated from the meeting. This was Procrastination's magnum opus, an empire that would stretch all corners of the world, bringing a finality of order under his rule. At any moment's notice, he could signal the attack and the final conquest would begin. But he didn't. He had to be there to witness the culmination of his work throughout the entire event and revel in the glory of the Fire Kingdom. The kingdom that could very well soon become the sole kingdom in the world. And this gave just enough time for Abraxan to alert Meridian of the approaching disaster, that Procrastination had abandoned peace for order. Immediately, disheartened soldiers redonned their armor, sentries returned to guarding the walls, and citizens back to hiding in fear. Could this world know no peace?
Your allies gone, you can only hide behind your walls, unable to threaten my island.
It's time.
Progress is here.
Yeah, they've been here.
They're coming.
East. They really chose good spots to find us.
So, I guess...
Whoa.
Someone's lighting TNT. Back up.
Get off the wall.
Oh, some of the procrastination's people are coming from the north.
I fell!
Like, it doesn't matter, we need to stay together.
Retreat to the temple.
We can't.
Retreat to the temple. Retreat to the temple. Retreat to the temple.
Everyone, fight is upon us, and our walls cannot stop it. They are crumbling from Fire Kingdom attacks, and soon our adversaries will tear through Main Street. We are losing this war. Procrastination's peace is the grand accumulation of mountains of bloodshed, costing hundreds of lives in the process. I ask you now, desperately, please, if you previously held apprehension about fighting, just shelf it. We are the last light of a very, very dark world burned to ashes. Join us in preserving what we've built. Join us for all those lost to this senseless bloodshed. Join us in the hopes of ending this bloody war. It is time for our final stand.
Some people are logging back in just to fight. Under procrastination's rule, yes, he welcomed anyone, and yes, there technically would be peace. But his kingdom was built off pure bloodshed and order. This conquest of the world would leave nothing behind. There would be no races, no cultures, no you. Just who would want to live in such a world? So many more people are joining in on the fight. This is crazy. Oh, they got their first kill.
Let's run this back one last goddamn time.
It was over. With the help of everyone, Fire Kingdom soldiers were all defeated one by one, and as his grand design slowly fell apart, Procrastination himself fled. The aftermath wasn't a pretty one, with mayhem strewn all about, but the people of Meridian could not have cared less. The following day was filled with festivities and cleanup. Some decided to stay with Meridian while others traveled back to their homelands to rebuild. Whatever their decision, it was well received and supported. And regarding the peace deal, well, our players realized that there was really never a need for one to begin with. In this crazy world filled with all sorts of issues, instead of some arbitrary deals, maybe all they really needed was the bits of both chaos and order for any meaningful peace. Oh, and as for Procrastination, well, his fate remains unknown.